All right, let's try out these brand new tuned plugins. My friends at Tuned Plugins were kind enough to send over their 3 debut vocal plugins. So that's Vocal Tune, Vocal Chain, and Tuned Reverb. And what I've done here is I've taken a short a cappella piece by my friend Bearic, and I've automated some of the features of these plugins to help accent the shift in energy from dark and powerful to more light and airy that seems to want to happen partway through this piece, just to explore the scope of the plugins. Let's have a listen without and then with these plugins. So I'm just going to do Shift A to bypass all the tuned plugins on these tracks, and let's go.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
So that's just one really quick example of what these plugins can do. And, you know, full disclosure, like I mentioned, I'm very excited to be working with tuned plugins on this video, and I was sent these plugins specifically for this video. Like always, I do try to remain unbiased. I try to do my best to remain unbiased, and that's part of why I like to explore the features of the plugins and show you examples of the plugins in action, just to let them speak for themselves. So if you're watching this video and it's September 3rd, 2024, then guess what? These plugins literally just came out and you can go check them out yourselves. And just so that you know what I have in place here, I do have my normal chain on the master fader. I had that active for both the with and without the plugin, so hopefully that's not causing too huge of a shift. You know, it should be the plugins that are speaking for themselves with that before and after. So, and then the other thing that I've done here is all these tracks, individual tracks, they just have vocal tune, vocal chain, and then I have the tuned reverb in play here on each of these reverb aux tracks. One of these reverbs is more of a dark reverb, the other is more of a bright reverb. And then the only other plugin that I've brought in is actually the Dragon EQ by Safari Pedals. So I like to do the Abbey Road technique with reverb. So this is kind of doing like something similar-ish. It's like a more mellow version of that. But other than that, you can see here that I am featuring these tuned plugins on all of these tracks. So I did want to point that out, you know, how I have my structure for my session going and what's in play. And so if I go Command equals to switch into my edit window, you can see that I've automated some parameters here. So here's where I consider that shift from dark and powerful to more light and airy. So I tried to kind of accent that a little bit. So what I've done is on each of these tracks, I've automated the body and the air parameters in the vocal chain plugin. So you can see what that looks like here. And that's just to kind of help emphasize that shift. So I've done that in, I believe, all of these tracks. Yep, all these tracks. And then I've also, let me close this out. We'll talk about that in more detail in a moment here. I've also automated my reverbs a little bit. So I have this dark reverb, you know, quote unquote darker reverb, and then I have a slightly brighter reverb going with slightly different setups going on here. And I've automated those in and out at that shift, at that switch here that I've marked with this marker. So I'm just going to shift click so I can open multiple instances here of this reverb. So you can see here that I have 2 versions of this reverb in play, and that's just to kind of show how easy it is to go from a dark plate sound to something more light and airy with this reverb. And if you've been following this channel, you probably know I have been a sucker for big reverbs lately, and this reverb did not disappoint. It has some big, long, lush reverb sounds. And I did want to point out that I had a lot of fun messing with the width value on these reverbs, so you'll notice I put them kind of high, and I realized I like them higher because it gives you more of an immersive stereo effect, because what it's doing is it's widening that reverb tail for you. And I also automated the body and the air values in this piece. So I brought up the body in the first half to make it more rich and resonant, and then I brought up the air value in the second half to make it more light and airy. So let's have a listen with and without these reverbs in play. So Shift A to bypass, let's listen.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
And maybe that's more dramatic than I might otherwise make it, but I was having fun with the drama in this one. So let's mess with these parameters a little bit, shall we? I'm going to, I guess what I'll do is I'm going to bring up both of these and I'm going to adjust these parameters while we listen so you can kind of hear some of the difference. So the big thing that I'll probably focus on here is the width and the air and the body, because those are what I've been having the most fun with. So, listen to how wide that reverb tail feels as I bring this up versus bringing it down. Listen to that like full resonance when I bring up the body. Listen to the light and airiness when I bring up the air. I might play with the time a little bit. But anyway, I'm just going to hit play and kind of tweak some of these knobs and just keep in mind that this one is in play on the first half and this one is in play in the second half.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
I might actually kind of like this one shorter. Anyway, you get the idea of what these reverb plugins can do, I think. Let me know if you want to hear any other examples in future videos. And I'm also working on presets for these plugins, so they may or may not make it into the final version. So take a look at that if you get these plugins, if you try them out, let me know what you think of the presets. But yeah, that's kind of the quick rundown on the tuned reverb plugins. So now let's look at the vocal tune plugin. So I've been having a lot of fun with this plugin because I love that it does both pitch correction and vocal enhancement all in one plugin. And I love that it's really simple and intuitive and easy to use. If you want to make custom scales, adjust your scales, it's pretty straightforward. Another feature that stood out to me is that there are actually two types of tuning here. So there's transparent and modern, with modern being the more extreme. It has formant shifting options, and then transparent is the more subtle one. That's the one that I actually preferred for this instance, for this piece. And in transparent mode, you get the amount knob, which is nice because it controls how far the tuning will reach, excluding notes that are not part of the scale. So let's listen without and then with these tuning plugins in play. And what I want you to do is listen for how it's doing more than just tuning, it's really polishing the whole thing.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
All right, so let's check out just the lead here. I'm going to solo it and let's take a look at vocal tune and see what it's doing, listen to it a little bit. I'm going to hit play here.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
You can really hear the warble in some spots. And, let's crank up the vibrato and hear what it does.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
The vibrato, and you crank it. it's really fun. Okay, and then I'm gonna make the tuning speed much faster and see if we can like T-pain this.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two. Change of plans.
Let's crank this up and hear it.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or...
Let's swap it to modern and see if we want to hear that. So I'm going to switch it to modern here.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances and stay a moment or two.
So it's definitely way more robotic. Let's shift the format and hear how it shifts that pitch.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two.
I think this is way too extreme for this piece, but what I do like about it is that I think this would be really good for doing like backing vocal effects and little like throws of affected vocals and like ad libs and stuff like that. I think it could be really good for that. I'm gonna option click on that to return it to 0 though and bring this back to transparent. But it's fun. Let's hear the reverb that's built into it.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead.
Oh, it's a big reverb. That's like cavernous. That's kind of fun. I would rather control the reverb separately though, to be honest. But yeah, that's really cool. Okay, now let's talk about vocal chain. This might actually be the one that I'm the most excited about because this one has a lot going on in it. All right, so vocal chain. I think musicians are going to love this one. It's basically a one-stop shop, right? So you can EQ, you can compress, and you can saturate your vocals all in one plugin. And just like with tuned reverb, there are body and air parameters here. Like I mentioned, I did automate these in this piece. And in the version that I have on the aux channel here, I did mess with the width a bit. So I increased it a bit to bring the processed effect into the sides a bit more, which brought the stereo image to where I wanted it. And then I also automated the saturation. So it's a nice analog style saturation. So what I did is I cranked it up for the higher energy first half. And I also turned on oversampling here. So that processes our audio at a higher sampling rate, which then gives you a cleaner, more detailed sound by reducing aliasing. So let's listen without and then with the vocal chain in play here.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two. Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two.
And so you'll notice here that I have different amounts of compression on these tracks, different amounts of saturation. Everything is a little bit different depending on the part here. So my lead is going to be processed a little bit differently than my other ones. I don't think I made huge differences with this example, but I do usually process my lead differently than my other ones. So let's just mess with it. I'm going to crank up some of these parameters so we can hear what's going on with them with just the lead soloed.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two.
Love how it's definitely coloring the sound, but it doesn't like completely destroy it. Like that could be really fun in some genres. I would definitely use this a ton in certain genres.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two.
And it's interesting, I have this coming in kind of low, so it's maybe I would, if I were working on this more, I would turn up the clip gain and then have it go through here. But what's interesting that I'm noticing with this compressor, right, is that it seems to be changing. If you notice, this slope here changes as I adjust it. So this compression knob is adjusting both the slope and the actual threshold for the compressor. So it's kind of like a preset, but it does look like, to my eye, it looks like it's adjusting that slope. So it's making some interesting changes as it goes, but it's all just, one knob for the compression. So that's kind of interesting. So what you could do is if you wanted to, target your actual compression ratio, right? So like with our slope, it has to do with whether it's 3:1, 4:1, etc. That's our compression ratio, which translates into a slope on this type of graph. So if you wanted to control that a bit more, you could actually adjust the clip gain of your audio that's going into this compressor, or you could adjust the level coming out of the plugin before it, for example, and that could affect where the audio is hitting here, which could then, when you adjust the threshold accordingly, it might give you a slightly different slope depending on where you place it. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. But I think that's kind of cool. That's it's like a one knob thing, but there are ways to control it a little bit more if you wanted to, is what it seems like. Let me adjust these EQ values here. These are basically just EQ. Body's going to be more low end, air is going to be high end. Low cut is going to be just like a high pass filter, basically. Low cut, high pass filter, two different ways of saying it, right? And I like to use a low cut on my vocals to help, prevent any unwanted audio that came through in the low frequency spectrum from coming through in the mixed, right? So maybe something got bumped or like a little low burst of wind noise or what have you that can be cut by something like this. So I'll play with these.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead.
Hear how thin it gets as I start cutting into the voice. So the range here goes up to 180. So that's good for most vocals, I would say. That's pretty good.
Change.
This is definitely catered to vocals, so you can't go too crazy, right?
Change of plan.
Let me mess with the body.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment or two.
You can hear that as soon as I let go, the automation took over. You can hear that body really when you crank it. You should really feel that fullness, that richness, that oomph, to it. And then let's mess with the air.
Change of plans, I think I'll take my chances instead. A moment.
I actually like warmer sounds. So actually when I bring it up here, I don't like it as much. I feel like it's a little too much, but that's, based on this audio and this vocal as well, and what you recorded with it and how you recorded it and what the goals are and what type of track it's in, right? So that can all change very drastically. But yeah, hopefully you can hear that, how it's bringing up that air, that high end in the vocals when you bring it up. And, just a reminder that I have been working on some presets for this plugin, so keep an eye out for those. I'm not sure if they'll make it into the final plugin, but just in case, keep an eye out for them. All right, and so that's my review, my tinkering, my exploration of the new Tuned Plugins vocal plugin suite. And, let me know what you think now that you have heard these plugins in action. I would love to hear about it in the comments below. And, let me know if you want to see more plugin exploration videos like this one. And I think other than that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'd appreciate all of that stuff. And I do have a Patreon, so it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. My patrons get access to additional content. We have a Discord server that we're hanging out on. There's a book club that we've been running on the Discord server. It's a very small book club, but we've been having a lot of fun with it. It's all audio engineering and music production books. So, if you feel so inclined, please check out that Patreon. And other than that, I come out with new videos every Wednesday. And thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. I don't know what to talk about. Oh, you know what I did? I dug up this old Polaroid camera that I have. I mean, it's not that old, right? It's like one of the modern reissues, but I dug this up. Actually makes a pretty cool sound. Actually, let me play the sound for you. Oh no, it's jammed. All right, ready? Check this out. Satisfying, right? It's a nice sound. And then when you close it, it makes a kind of a cool sound too. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So what I did is I dug this up. I was going to try to sell it and no one wanted to buy it. So I had it on like Poshmark, I think, for a while. And then I was suddenly like, why am I not using this? So I went out and I got some film for it because apparently the battery is in the film and this was dead, even though there's some film in it. So I'm going to try this out and see if I can take some Polaroids with people in the studio and start putting them all over the walls and see what happens. And I think that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's my new little non-audio studio thing that I've been doing lately. Maybe that's all I have to say. I don't know. Okay. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see y'all next week.